from a sturdier cloth. I think the fabric was dungaree.
Uh-oh. Hello, hello, hello. Happy New Year, Well Read Sisters. We're doing it. Happy New Year. Welcome to 2026 and welcome to the first Behind the Pages author chat series with Well Read Sistas Inc. for 2026. Let's do it big. If you haven't already, please go to wellreadsisters.com, select membership, and be sure to join the sisterhood so that way you can stay informed about everything Well Read Sistas Inc. We have Headshot Day coming up this year so you can spruce up your professional headshot. We have Speed Friending, of course, coming back. We will be going back to the prom drive and giving back in that capacity. And oodles of more amazing things, I think even a spa day. Make sure you go to Halo, your Halo app, your membership, and that you take advantage of it. RSVP for as many things as you like. We are always open to new and fresh ideas. Make sure that you are getting the newsletter and don't forget to donate. Okay, so why are we here? This is a Behind the Pages. Without further ado, I'd like to welcome the lovely, the amazing Lolá Ákínmádé. Oh, yes. Okay, wait. The second last name wasn't on this one. I wasn't ready. Yes, but it was on the
Yes. Good to see you.
Welcome. Thank you for coming. We're happy to have you. We love this read. We loved it. Yes.
Thank you.
It was an amazing book chat. You know, it's amazing when there's lots of ladies with strong opinions.
You know, I love writing very messy characters that are just swimming around in like gray, in the gray zone. So if readers are upset by characters or wanting to slap characters, I'm like, yeah, my work is done.
That's me. I love to get bothered by a character. We were just talking about that in one of the last book clubs. Can you fall in love with a character that you don't agree with, right? That makes you mad. Do you love that character or is it impossible?
Yeah. I think it's me as the author tapping into your empathy and grace, because we need to be able to give people grace so they can grow and become better versions of themselves. They can self-actualize. And so that's what I try to do as an author is, how can I make you uncomfortable enough to see if this character is worthy of grace? Because, you know, as Black women, we don't get enough grace in society. It's usually one shot and you're out. And so that's what I intentionally do with my characters. Yeah.
The perfectionism of Black women. No mistakes.
Yes, none.
Any mistake you make, that's what we're going to talk about forever. So if this is on the shelf with many other amazing works, but you can only buy one book today. Now, you can buy another book tomorrow. This is not about competition, but you only have enough to pick up this novel. Why should you do it? Why would you want a reader to pick it up?
Exactly. So I will tell the reader what happens when the life you dreamed for yourself doesn't go as planned. How do you pick up the pieces and create a life still worth living? So that is what I will pitch is, what if everything you've dreamed about doesn't happen? Or you go into situations thinking this is what your future will be, but things change. How do you recover from that and pick up the pieces?
I agree with that, right? Planning, doing all the things, and then it doesn't go that way.
Exactly.
Now, is that theme true for you? Is that a narrative that resonates with you?
Yeah, absolutely, because I'm divorced.
So is that orchestrum?
So orchestrum is it's still my official kind of government name because I have kids, you know, and it's more for their benefit when we travel, so I don't get pulled aside.
Amen.
But I think 3 years ago I got divorced, and so nobody goes into marriage ever thinking they're gonna get divorced. Even though none of the characters are me or their stories kind of parallel my life whatsoever, very different. What is a running theme is when the life you thought you were going to lead doesn't pan out the way. How do you kind of pick up the pieces? How do you then, you grieve that, you know, that path, but then how do you then build something else, you know, that's still beautiful, and then pick up and then keep moving forward? So that's the theme I share personally with the book, but other than that, none of the characters is me or my ex or any of that. And so I
Right.
just dropped the orchestrum, kind of moving forward, and just kind of with my writing go with my maiden name, but it's still my last name. It's still my government last name. So
Yeah, I'm from the Bronx. I know about a government name, right? They Pookie, but
exactly,
they're not Pookie. Everybody already
exactly,
calls them that.
exactly.
I get that. Thank you for sharing that with us. So many
Yes.
surprises with these characters as well. No one thinks, after hearing that their parent is deceased for many years, that they're going to walk up on them. What? What kind of craziness is that? Talk me through some of the setting building and why you decided to approach like smack us in the face with that. But what was the thinking behind that?
No, absolutely. I wanted to. So with this book, it's very different from the other two I've written, even though the two characters are actually, they have cameos in the other books. It's Nancy and Tina. And in the other books, there's a guy called Tobias. So in Sweden, we call it Tobias. It's in the US, it's Tobias. I know people fight about that, but it is Tobias. That's his name. And in the other two books, he's quite a central figure because he's dating one of the main characters. But his mother and his sister are Nancy and Tina, who are the kind of the protagonists of this book. And what I wanted to do was also challenge myself as an author. If I give you all the information in the first 2 pages, because by the second page you already know it's a dad, the mom, kind of everything. How do I keep your interest for 400 more pages? That's the challenge. And that's the challenge I wanted to set myself, as an author. And that's why kind of everything happened the way, and I just threw it at the reader. So you're like, okay, wait a minute. I know everything, but how did we get here? Like a sitcom where they kind of screech. How did we get here? I wanted to give that.
As the reader, I felt like, well, if I know everything up front, where are we going? Because that's a lot. And sometimes you can read a novel where it feels like they're trying to fill in the spaces of the pages. Is this going to wear off? Are the characters going to go dry? I don't think that happened. So yes to that. Yeah.
Thank you.
It gives that sitcom energy. I like to be caught in the middle of the moment. We're caught in the middle for surprise.
No, absolutely. And I think I wanted to kind of sustain that level of drama as much as I could, so that at least every time it turns to Tina or it turns to Nancy, there's always like, okay, what's going to happen now? And what are they going to do that's going to piss me off now? And you kind of keep reading through.
It's the best part. I like characters that get on my nerves. When I have to throw the book, sometimes I throw the book. I'm dramatic. Like I'll throw the book and like go get it. Like what are they doing?
I think I get that a lot with the character Tina, because she was and then the reader steps back and says, wait a minute, she was just 20. So she's a brat, at 20. What do you know at 20? Well, like for many at that age anyway. And what I also wanted to show was not only was she young and she knows everything, because, we always say in your 20s, you know everything. In your 30s, you realize you don't know everything. In your 40s and 50s, you don't care. Like, you just know what you know. But, and you kind of keep learning. And so I wanted to create a character that I felt like she knew everything. So she's not listening to anybody, but then she's also a pop star, which means she has to have an ego. Because for you to be able to stand on stage and sing in front of thousands of people with, confidence, you have to at least have some kind of a little bit of an ego in there to be like, yes, I can do this. So I wanted to create all of that in that Tina character. And I think it came across why people are just like,
Yeah. And her personality is informed by her job. In order to have a job where you're on stage, you have to have a little inflated ego. And then that's just so fun to do with a character that's pig-headed a bit, kind of harder to get access to. And the intergenerational part, we're flipping back and forth between Tina and Nancy. That seems like fun. Did you nix anything? Did you swap anything? Was something Nancy's story, but you made it a Tina story because it was better?
Well, I think actually writing, that was actually my favorite part of writing this book, was having 4-decade span to work with, so from the late 70s to the early 2000s. And so what I did was I knew, based on kind of the very first book, In Every Marriage is Black, I knew that if Tobias is around this age, then his mom is around this age. She came to Sweden around the late 70s. And then I know Tina, if she's performing, then she's probably around this age because we meet her later when she's much older, at least 10 years old. So I already had like that box. And then I went through history to say, okay, what are the kind of significant events that happened during different years between this? I'm like, so if something happened this year, and I'm like, wow, but I also want to time it with that year, then I shift the whole timeline. So I wasn't changing what was happening in history, but I was just shifting the timelines, this way, so that everything could connect. So, for example, the attempted coup in Gambia, I was like, well, I want to put this in the story, which means if I put this in the story, then Nancy has to be personally connected with it, which means that Malik guy must be some kind of diplomat, which means how about I making the ambassador's son, so that when the coup happens, his dad is at the royal wedding in England between Prince Charles and Lady. Like, that was how I was thinking. Or thinking like, okay, Olof Palme was the prime minister of Sweden that was assassinated. I need to try and work that in. Well, since Malik is a diplomat, how about I make them meet him? Oh, and then maybe when he's assassinated, let me move the ages a bit because I want Tina to be born. So that was what I was doing. So that was the fun part, was just kind of shifting and saying, okay, well, Sebastian plays on the national team. I also want him to play during the World Cup. Gratefully, the World Cup in Germany was happening around that time, so I was moving things around, and I think that was what made it fun for me because there was a lot of research that went into it, and there's a lot of historical accuracy. So everything you see is accurate. It's just the characters moving through. So, for example, the Nobel Prize dinner, the entire menu was what they were eating. I don't know if it was 1979 or 81. It was from there. It's the exact menu, the exact wine, the exact dessert, the exact what the choir was wearing, what the queen was wearing. So everything was exact. It's just that my characters were kind of moving in and out through those scenes.
I am living now, gagged fully. That's doing the research and then figuring out how are my characters going to make these cameos in real historical moments.
Yes.
Juicy, juicy, juicy. I also welcome any well-read sisters. If you have any questions, if you have any suggestions, drop them, because that was a great jewel. Anybody have any questions? Throw them out whenever you like.
Hi. Oh, thank you so much for being with us today. I loved how when you said you like writing messy characters, I was like, yep, and I like reading them. It was good to just figure out, to your point, how to empathize with a bunch of imperfect people and see their ways. Were there any, as far as the endings and the conclusions that you gave the characters, were there any, or maybe one that you knew you were going to start with and other things would follow, or how did that process work for you in terms of, some things were very final at the end and others were like left open-ended. So how did you approach that?
No, absolutely. I think, so one of my favorite scenes in the book was obviously at Lage's deathbed, when Nancy was there and even up until death, he was a narcissist up until the very end, But what I did was, instead of making her just loathe this man, I actually made her love the man. So she actually fell in love with Lage, and that was why this was so painful. And that was why when he died, then she kissed him at the end to let the reader know, oh my God, did she actually like this man? And the moment I made her fall in love with Lars was a very, I'm sure the readers read it, but it didn't register. But there was a moment, and I can tell you the exact moment when, does anybody want to kind of guess? There was a moment in the book.
No, I want a spoiler because I don't know this moment. Do you know? Who knows?
So there is a moment, that's the moment when Nancy actually just fell, for this man. It was when he took her to a cabin and it was raining and he was dancing naked in the rain and she was kind of indoors hiding, and then he's dancing and then he turns to her kind of sharply, and then I say her breath catches, and it was that moment that she just fell for him, just completely saw him as this person that was probably trying to relive his youth when he was young and wild, and she saw in that moment. So that was the moment she fell. So that I pulled that all the way to the end where she wasn't going to give him what he wanted, which was the man wanted to just possess her and own her. Like it was a very colonialist love. Like he just wanted to own her. So she didn't give him that. But at the end, when he died, then she kind of gave him that kiss at the end on her own terms. So that was one. And then in terms of the ending, because I was kind of alternating chapters, it was actually supposed to end with Tina and Sebastian at the football game. But then I was like, no, I switched it because I'm like, it doesn't make sense to end with that scene because the book is mostly Nancy's journey, you know. And so that's kind of how I switched some things around at the end.
I have a question.
Yes.
I enjoyed your book. I read your first one, but I didn't read the second one yet. I have it, but I've got a ton of books to read.
Yes.
This kind of like bugged me. I didn't understand in your books why you sometimes have the characters speaking Swedish. You did it in the first book. I remember when they were all sitting down at the table and the mother and the son, and they were going back and forth. And I didn't understand that because I'm like, well, if you knew the language, it wasn't a secret to those people who could hear what was going on. So why did you write it that you cut a lot of us out of what was going on?
And that's a great question. And it's for you to feel how the characters are feeling when they don't understand the language. The books are set in Sweden. And if I think about in every Mirror She's Black, there are three characters. So Muna, who is the Somali character, she knows a lot of Swedish. She speaks Swedish, so I translate on the page. Hemi is kind of muddling around in Swedish, so sometimes I translate. But Brittany doesn't know it. And so there is one scene where it's all in Swedish, and she's just sitting there, and Johan is talking to his parents, and they're speaking in Swedish. And I hope people Google translated that scene, because it was something. But Brittany was sitting there excluded. And so for me, it's a plot device. It's an emotional device to get the reader to feel the frustration of the characters because they don't understand. The ones that understand the language, I translate on the page. The ones that don't, I don't translate. So because I write in close third person, which means I write in third person, but you're looking over their shoulder, it's almost like you're feeling what they're feeling. So that's how I write. And there are some authors that write what I call omnipresent, where they you can see everything, you can know what, this character is thinking, that character is thinking. But I don't do that. I actually choose third close because one, you get to see how the character is feeling by interacting with other people. Two, a side character doesn't take over because you are not in their head. So you can only see how the main character is interacting with the side characters because you can hop into the side character's head. And that also limits what you can do on the page and takes quite some skill. So that's why I do that. And, I speak Swedish, and I think it's great to infuse other languages from the diaspora where there are Black people in the Netherlands or in Norway or in Sweden to tell more of those stories, and put it out there. So that's why I did it, is not so much to frustrate you, the reading experience, but to transfer the emotion of the character into the reader.
I'm embarrassed to say I didn't even think to Google it.
No, we have to Google it. What a new Easter egg. We'll talk back on book club and translate it because we read that one and I didn't translate it either. I just received that we weren't supposed to know. But I would like to know. That does not relate to my nosiness. Like,
no,
what?
No, it was great because that's when they translated it. They just went on Instagram and were like, because what was going on was the mom was saying, "Oh, is this the new fling of the week? Is this your toy? The new toy of the week, or really?" and stuff like that. And the guy was upset that his mom was talking like this, and he's like, "I love her. I'm gonna get married." And the mom's like, "What? You're so good in bed that you've lost your head," and like was growing. with the son, and she was just like,
But there was also some in this book too. Another question I had is, you still live in Sweden?
yes.
Okay. To me, you depicted Sweden as very racist.
Yeah, because it is.
Well, I wanted to know if that was, and I guess I was kind of surprised because when I think of certain countries, I don't necessarily see them that way. So you're comfortable living there?
Not with the current administration. No, but one of the things with Sweden is it's about choosing your survival mechanism. So there's no place that's perfect. Europe has better life quality in the sense that a lot of things are built into the social structure, the taxes and things actually, Sweden is perfect for small kids, if you have small kids, because there's a lot of parental leave and government support for having small kids. But anywhere that's predominantly white will always be racist. Now, in the US, it's a lot more overt. In Sweden, it's a lot more covert to the point of gaslighting. Like you feel like, I know I'm not invited here because I'm Black. I know I'm not given this job. At least in the US, you got Oprah, you got sisters in the C-suite. You got people in high positions. In Sweden, it's very rare. Very rare you find a person of color in a very high position. And if you do, because the society requires more assimilation than integration, then that person has given up something along the way to be accepted.
So he's not a soul brother when he gets up there. He probably had to give some of that. Yeah.
He had to give some of that on the way. So it's not that I hate living here. It's that I'm giving people more information that the PR machine, because PR machine, people always joke, and Sweden, the joke about it is that the devil works hard, but Sweden's PR machine works harder. So it's a beautiful place to be. I love living here during the summer when I have peace of mind, But in terms of self-actualizing, truly self-actualizing as a Black woman, there's still a ways to go, and it's almost like it also depends on what you're looking for at what stage of your life. If you're like, what, I don't need to strive for nothing, I'm good, I just want to eat my cinnamon buns by a lake, nobody will bug you, you'll be there. But the minute you decide, what, I think I'm the smartest person at the table, I want to go be the CEO of IKEA or Ericsson, and that is also one of the things where, because Europe says they don't see color, that's also a problem.
I'm not into that don't see color thing. It makes me very suspicious. It's like a red flag. When people say, I don't, you got to see something. What you see? You got to see something.
So the reason I wrote the books is to not say it's bad, but to say, give more information. It's not just, and also that the bad things don't negate the good things. Two things can coexist. And I think that's the thing is, there's always the push to just show the good, and they don't want to show the bad. And I'm like, well, but I'm a Black woman here, and I always write about the good because I am a travel writer. I write about the good, but also these are the realities of people living here. So the reason I wrote these books is to share all of that. And two things I want to add is, here in Sweden we don't collect statistics on race.
So get into this.
They only collect, they can collect statistics of if you are born abroad or not here, and then they try to extrapolate. But when you don't collect statistics on race, then it's easier to hide behind that, because you don't have the breakdown to say, what, the Afro-Swedes are the most prejudiced against in society, or this, or if something happened to you, you can't go close to police, that it's a hate crime, things like that. So that hides a lot of things. And then the other thing I also want to say is, in Europe, there are a lot of interracial marriages. There's just, and it's just a numbers thing. There are just more white men here. But there's a difference between saying I'm married to, and I'll use Germany as an example. There's a difference between saying I'm married to a German man who doesn't see color versus if that German man would actually listen to me as his boss at Mercedes-Benz. Two different things. So they always try to say we don't see color, well, you see all of us, lovely babies, everything. But the minute I become a boss at Mercedes-Benz as a black woman in Europe, it's like they don't even listen. Like, it's like, why are you there? You know. So those are the things I write. Is not to say a place is bad or not, because the book is just, and I think that's what triggered a lot of people, because it was just written rawly. There was no cushioning or hiding behind elegant prose, because if you hide behind elegant prose, it softens the blow on people. But if you just write it honestly and rawly, then it triggers people because they are forced to see or look at that mirror. And so that's kind of why I wrote the books, because and one thing I also want to say is, when, like with In Every Mirror She's Black and Mona, I mean, I met people like Mona at an asylum center, because for 2 years I used to work on a photography project. I'm a photographer at the asylum center with the asylees. So when they come in as refugees, they are moved to asylum centers, sometimes in the middle of nowhere. They keep them there for months while they are processing, you know. And so it's these stories and listening to them and knowing that I cannot just talk about frolicking at Midsummer and then ignore their stories, because their stories are also part of the fabric. It doesn't make the Midsummer bad, or it's just that two things can exist, and it does, and I think that's the issue in Europe, is they just want one narrative so that they can say, look, we're better than the US, or we're better than this place. It's just that, yeah.
That's so good. Thank you for sharing that. In general, we always say, like, Black women not a monolith, but we'll have these themes that cross over.
It's very, and I don't want to say something, because I remember when In Every Mirror She's Black came out. I mean, the reception was all over the place. And even there were people that loved it, there were people that hated it. I mean, I loved reading all the hates, because some people are like, run from this book, internalized racism. I'm like, context.
Yeah.
Context matters. People were upset with that book because I had a white man in the book.
Yeah, that's what it was. What?
If I didn't add him in that book, then the book is fantasy, because Black women don't move to Sweden without a reason. There has to be something that brings them to Sweden.
I love that so much. If I don't add a white man, what is this Black woman doing in Sweden, is what you say.
Yeah, because we don't move to Sweden. We just don't. It's Portugal, it's France, it's the UK, it's somewhere else that makes sense. And having lived there for 15 years, I know the language well, I speak the language. There are two main reasons Black women move to Sweden. Two main reasons. Either as a refugee or for love. Those are the two main reasons. The other reasons is if they did a study abroad, semester abroad, usually in Uppsala or Lund University or, KTH. I know the school, like either they do a study abroad there and then they love it because it's somebody and then end up staying, right? So back to those two reasons. Or the fourth reason is if they are already working for a Swedish company and then get a transfer. So if you're working for Spotify, IKEA, Ericsson, the whole thing requires context. And so when I read some of those reviews, and I can just see that it's being processed through a singular lens. And that's why these books are important, is that the Black experience is very different around the world in different diasporas, and we need to write more about it. We need to write more about it.
Yeah, more about it in an honest way. Tell us the tea. This is awesome. You better segue. Think about it. This is all about not telling what happened, then seeing how that can transform. And that happens a lot with mothers and daughters, generations, aunties and nieces. That balance of how much you share and don't share, and will you be judged for your past? It's so good. When you wrote this, thinking about the mother-daughter of it all and the Nancy-Tina dynamic of the storytelling.
Yes.
Talk me through that thinking.
Absolutely, because Nancy and Tina are not new characters. I wrote them in 2018 because they are actually in Every Mirror She's Black and Everything Is Not Enough, because they are Tobias's mom and sister. So they've always had cameos in those two books. I always knew it had to be that. But then moving into writing their story, instead of focusing on 3 points of views, Nancy and Tobias and Tina, I said, you know what, take out the guy and let's just focus on the women and their relationship with each other. And so I knew it was always going to be both of them. And then I was also thinking about, because my kids, are also like, Swedish and Nigerian, and also they actually naturalized Americans as well. And so with my daughter, even though she's younger than Tina, she's a teen, I wanted to write some of that dynamic about identity and place. Because she's born here, she's technically Swedish, speaks the language, but when she was younger, they were asking her, where are you from? And she's like, oh, but I'm from Stockholm. They're like, but where are you? I'm from Stockholm. So I wanted to write a lot of that into Tina's story, in terms of when people are like, go back home, and she's like, yeah, but I'm home. What are you talking about? And then there is rising xenophobia in Europe, especially the Nordics as well. Rising xenophobia. So I wanted to tackle all of that by making Laj's son right wing, from the right wing. And the reason is because, again, the right-wing party is in government here. So like these are things we only always see the good and the amazing, but we don't see, this is the analogy I always use. I always use, like, living in Sweden is like being married to the most attractive man at a party. You come in with the attractive man on your arm. Nobody cares how he treats you at home. They're just like, oh wow, good looking. They don't care how he treats you at home.
No,
and so that is good. Kind of their So then, because you just look good together, AKA Danish perfection, whatever, right? Mm-hmm. So I just wanted to put that in the book to show that it's a lot more nuanced, it's a lot more complicated than is always being portrayed, and that doesn't also negate the amazing things that make it wonderful living here, and that's it. Like I always say, for example, with the US, there's a lot going on, but there's still Yosemite National Park, there's still Key West, there's still beautiful places and things and traditions. Two things can exist, and that's what I'm trying to fill in the gaps, to say two things,
The blessing of being a writer. You observe, you bring these things in, and then you report the truth. Yes. Books are forever. Anybody else have questions? Go ahead, Val.
Okay, I'm slow on this. Give me the connection between Nancy and Tina, and then your first two books. Who's related to who? I'm sorry, I missed it.
No, so there is a girl in my first two books, the sequel, called Kemi. She's the marketing exec, the power woman, and her boyfriend is called Tobias. Tobias is Gambian Swedish. Nancy is his mother and Tina is his sister. So they appear in both books, and in the second book, Tina is actually quite present in the second book. For those who haven't read it, I'll put a little bit of a spoiler, but the sequel is more dramatic than In Every Mirror She's Black. The sequel got NAACP nominated for Outstanding Fiction. Everything is not enough. The sequel is quite good. Tina is in that book, and she is fighting with Kemi, protecting her brother because Kemi does something unspeakable. She essentially cheats on her brother, and so they are fighting. And so Tina is quite a prominent character in the second book, No, because the sequel is like the next day. So a lot of people missed it because In Every Mirror She's Black ended abruptly. But the sequel picks up the very next day.
I love that.
And finishes the whole story. So I think a lot of people missed it because they were pissed at me with the first.
Going against the tide, like it entertains you, it's fun. Like Kim Kardashian reading a blog. You're like, I'm still making millions. Yeah. How do you keep yourself going? Where does this come from?
Okay, honestly, it's not that, that it's just that I get people to care. And I work as a travel writer. So that's my main career. I've worked as a travel writer for many years. I travel to a lot of places and I spend a lot of time with different cultures. And the thing that just ties us at the very base is that we just all want to be seen, heard, and acknowledged. every culture. And so by noticing this and observing this and seeing what matters to people, and then making others at the other side of the world either care or worry or learn about somebody else is the work I do, which is cultural connection. And so the way I wrote in Every Mirror She's Black, especially with Muna, that character who is the Somali refugee, in society, she's one of the most invincible people in society. So that by the end of the book, when what happens to her, the reader is upset with me because you've seen her, you've finally seen her as a person, as a real person. And that is why the way I wrote the books, the prose choice is also intentional. Is that if I wrote this deep literary fiction, then the social matters I'm trying to raise are going to be hidden, because at the end of the book, people will be like, that author could turn a phrase, these are some of my favorite phrases. No, it's actually about the struggles that people are still struggling here, so that at the end of this, you're like, I did not know that. Oh my God, Muna. So that it gets people more curious and people actually care about characters. So that's what I do. I do the work of cultural connection, which is, this is how we are different. This is how we are similar. This is why we need to be different. This is how we can get closer. So that is what brings me joy. So when people are upset with the book, people are always, there are some authors that can't read reviews. I read every single one. If it comes across my desk, I read it, and it doesn't affect me in the way that people might think. Yeah. Because I'm seeing where the points of disconnect are, or where I can say somebody is reading this book through just their lived experience or through just one narrow lens. So for me, it's a way of mining to see, okay, this is how people are connecting or not connecting with each other, or learning about different cultures. For me, it's research. So it's not like me laughing or thinking it doesn't bother me, but it's more of like, these are the points where I see people are, even with, for example, in Every Mirror She's Black, Johan's character, I never specifically say it in the book, but he's on the spectrum.
Yeah.
And so that community also came for me, because they're like, well, we did not like the autism rep or this in the book. And I'm like, but that's the point. It does not represent the whole community. Right. That is the point, is to see people as individuals. So that when somebody does something good, you don't say, oh, he's amazing, he's on the spectrum. But then when he does something bad, no, don't do this. He can also be capable of bad. So that is what I do with the characters, is just to humanize us and give us and expand our capacity for grace and understanding.
Go ahead, sis.
I was going to say, I think this, because I didn't read your first, now I have to go back and get the first two. So I think this was enlightening for me, because I appreciated how blunt you were speaking about racism. I think especially now in the current climate, there's a lot of talk of Europe kind of being the utopia. You just go, the social things you talked about that are positive, but then there's, the inside that you don't talk about. So it was interesting to me that Tina ended up in the US, that's where she started kind of learning herself, where she started wearing her hair curly. Did you consider her moving to another country, or did you always want it to be the US?
To the US. Because I moved to the US. I'm also a naturalized American, so I moved to the US when I was 15. And so I went to school there, studied there. I lived there for 16 years before I moved to Sweden. And it was there that not only do you understand the struggle, the struggle of what it means to be just discriminated against for the most inane reason, which is just the color of your skin. But then seeing how people are fighting against that, and then climbing, and then self-actualizing. So I wanted to do that for Tina, so that, because if she doesn't see people like her in positions of color in Europe, she needs to go to where she can see it in positions of power. And that's why I took her to the US. And then the thing with Europe, especially when I remember when people were like, the country is getting difficult, and Europe is lovely. Like, you should come if you want to move. Absolutely, you have to just have all the information before you move. I like living here. Quality of life is definitely better. But when people are like, oh, I want to move to the UK, I want to move to London, I want to run from the US, and I'm like, one, you do realize UK is colonizer central. They are the ones that started the whole thing. Two, Europeans are like, you see, aren't you happy you're living here now? See what's going on over there. And I'm like,
you're welcome.
Yeah, but you can't gaslight me because you're the ones that went there to start it for centuries. So it is for people to understand that they shouldn't be gaslit into thinking that one place is safer when those are the ones that started it from the start. A lot of people don't know this in terms of like slavery, and kind of what happened is, did you know Sweden was involved? Did anybody know Sweden was involved?
No.
Did you know Denmark was involved?
I don't know anything negative about Sweden offhanded.
Yeah. So Denmark was involved. They just pulled up 2 slave ships that belonged to Denmark. They pulled it up. But Sweden, you know who made the chains?
No, stop. The unbreakable heavy ones?
Yeah. The iron.
Yeah.
All from Sweden, the iron. And then even in Ghana, I think they were involved with Elmina, a castle there as well. So, but all this is not taught in schools. People don't know. We know now because there's historical records. But this is what I'm saying is, just because that, yes, we get it, it shouldn't define the country now, but you cannot pretend that you weren't involved. And that is what I try to tell people is, you can enjoy and live a higher quality of life, but don't do it blindly because you feel like you're running from one bad place to a best place. No. Those are the ones that, are quite involved and did things. So that's the thing. And that's why I write this, is not to point or say this place is bad or not, because like all my characters, you can't say this is you might despise the character, but all of them are all messy. Everybody's messy, so.
Lots of is propaganda. Just being a jaded American, and even worse, a jaded New Yorker. Struggle is defined differently in different places.
Right, it's different, but also it shouldn't deter anybody from moving abroad or living a beautiful life. That's what I'm saying. Like
we have crime. Someone told me, oh my God, I thought the Bronx, all they had was burning cars. And I was thinking, what year, what movie were they pop locking? Like, what were you looking at? Right.
No, but that's the thing, like everywhere has something, but also it's just so people don't go in blindly. I mean, I am a big advocate for women moving abroad, like Black women especially moving abroad, finding love abroad, like being treated like queens abroad. I'm a big advocate for that, but don't go in blindly is all. Given so that your blind spots, when it hits you, it makes you feel like, is it me? Am I the one that's not? No, it's not you.
You're a travel writer. If you had to suggest a few places, like as an American, if we wanted to go somewhere else and be treated like queens, or, we get the balance, what would be maybe the top 3 places you say we should go?
Oh, there's so many amazing places. I mean, the thing about being American is you also have passport privilege. And there are a lot of Americans in the Nordics that actually grab onto that because it's just another level of privilege that they can say, well, you know what, I'm not from here, I'm American. So a lot of people actually do that, and also don't learn the language, because the minute you start speaking Swedish with an accent, you are treated poorly. So a lot of people just stay with English and stay with American. But in terms of where to move, it depends. I mean, it could range from anywhere from Southern Europe to the Balkans, and the Balkans, meaning like Montenegro, Croatia, all those places, even to the Nordics, but also understanding the culture and understanding what you will be able to do and not do freely. In the Nordics, it's a very reserved culture. So if you're more flamboyant, or you speak, or you take up space, they struggle with that. They struggle with women that take up space. In the Nordics, because the culture is very reserved, and you're like, why are you making noise? And we're all blending in and homogeneous.
Except for wife kind of place, yes.
Yeah. And Asia is also, Southeast Asia, Africa, obviously, Ghana, Senegal. So there are many places, a matter of what you like, but also just fully doing your homework before you go. And so when women are moving to Sweden, I give them not only this novels, but I wrote a cultural book called Logom about the mindset, the Swedish mindset. So that you have information and then you can know how to navigate with ease when you move to a place. So.
I'm into this. Yeah. So like you gave us so much intel today. Not only did we get into the novel, we got into some of your business, which I'm always down for. You know, I rebranded as Curious, but I like it.
Yes.
We're going to ask you to come back so we can discuss.
The first book is called In Every Mirror She's Black. And the second one is called Everything Is Not Enough. And then Johan, Johan, which is a small novella, because I'm not writing a novel on a full novel on a white dude. But I wrote the novella because people wanted, it's such a complex character. People are like, how did he get to be who he is? And so that novella follows 3 decades of that man, from when he was a teenager up until when he met Brittany.
This is juicy. We'll take that.
Yes.
It's like, it's so interesting. I have to research even more into my genres. I feel like when I hear novella, I think Spanish. Right? No, it's just, that's my ignorance. So I have to get into it. Is it like more like, are we talking more?
It's a novel, but it's just a short novel. So it's a novel you can read within 6 hours, finish, or like the audiobook is 3 hours long for Johan. So it's a short, just a short novel.
Yeah.
Oh, think of that. Do you listen to books on tape?
Yes, I do. And they count as reading.
Yes, they do. Amen. I've been telling people that. It counts. It counts. Check your box. We have so many rules that are stressing us out for no reason. Like, stretch your brain in any way you can.
Absolutely. Yeah. And you know what? I saw something recently that it came up on Threads. I think it was another author that wrote this. Yeah. And this is why we need to read wide and read across genres. Because she said sometimes when a reader doesn't like a book, it's because they are so used to inserting themselves in the kind of books they've been reading for so long that they can't insert themselves in this character, and it frustrates them, you know. So for example, if I'm reading romance and I want to be thrown against the wall or whatever, I insert myself into that character. But then if I find a character that's just so, I see things that are similar, I see maybe a mirror reflecting back, but she's doing things that I could never comprehend. It frustrates readers so much because they can't put themselves, you know, into, like, they can't embody. And if they do. So I thought that was interesting and just a way to push to read wide and broadly. Then, because then you're like, you know what, I can't put myself in this werewolf character, so I might as well, you know, I can read. So you're reading broadly and widely. So that's my goal, at least for this year, is to expand.
What are you reading?
Oh yeah, is it just your stuff? Do you only listen to your things? Are you biased? I would only read my stuff. Once I start writing books, it's it.
Okay, I'm not a narcissist.
So you won't sit next to me while I only read my book.
No, but I am actually reading. I just finished like a book that I'm blurbing. You know, that I'm going to blurb. It's called Rinsing Mukasi's Soul, which is about just a girl that got pregnant in boarding school and kind of the aftermath about that. And then I'm reading Between Friends and Lovers. It's by Shailene Obobi. So I'm reading that now. And then I'm actually working on my a new novel. So I'm trying to finish it within 2 weeks. So I'm actually in the thick of that one.
Any spoilers? Anything? Can you tell us anything?
Yeah, I can give you some things that no big spoilers, but this one is pulling me away from this kind of what I'm writing. It's quite epic in the sense that it takes place in about 10 or 12 countries.
Okay, so no, stop.
Yeah, so that's it.
You're showing off. That is great.
So that is what I'm doing. Is actually, so it's kind of like autofiction. It's not memoir. It's not an autobiography, but because that's my job, you know, and I can write with such detail and nuance, I've gone into my journals and I've pulled a lot of scenes and things where people will be guessing, did this happen to us? Or is this the fiction part? I have no idea. So that's what I'm working on. I'm quite excited about this one.
Will it be out this year?
Yeah, Val, get the date. When is it coming out? When's it coming out?
We don't know. I need to finish it this month and turn it. So
I love that. I like that idea. The prose where it's that auto fiction Because, like,
Yeah.
for instance, for movies, my favorite genre is biopics. But I also like those spoofy fun ones where it's their life, but not what happened, like a loose
Correct.
interpretation, right?
Exactly.
Yeah, you know,
Exactly.
I enjoy
Yeah.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. So this is one of those. It's not too close, but close enough to where I'm putting some real names.
Oh, juicy. Yes, put them out there.
But again, it's not. It's very fictionalized. Like it's super fiction. So
Will you take any of these characters with you? Is it going to be totally different? Any cameos?
no, it's totally different. Has nothing to do with Sweden. But I will say, because I just wrote that part last week, and this is just giving you the character is in the lounge because she got upgraded to business, so she's in the lounge, and she's so hungry, so she has 2 plates. She's like feeling everything because she flies economy, so she's like eating everything. And then a guy comes up behind her and says, "Do you need help with that?" And she turns around, and it's a guy in a navy blue suit with cufflinks, dark hair. And she says it looks like money, smells like money, and she's like, "No, I'm good." And then she's taking tomatoes, and then the tomatoes roll up her plate. She's like that, and then he helps her. But anyway, she's eating, and the guy is like, "So, do you have a long layover? Where are you going?" She's like, "I'm sorry, please leave me alone. I'm sorry." And then a woman yells, "Ragnar, Ragnar!" and comes. And she's carrying a child, and she kind of shoos her husband away and then gives her like a look and goes. So that's a cameo, because that character Ragnar, and that's the only cameo. This book has nothing to do with nobody, but that character Ragnar is a problematic character from In Every Mirror She's Black and Everything Is Not Enough and Johan. So people that have read my other work, when they see that character, they're gonna be like, "Oh my God." But then they're going to be happy the way she treated, like, "Who the hell, get away from me, this character." So
Oh, I love that.
that's the only thing I'm giving you from book is just that cameo, but it has nothing.
No, you see it. We're eating it up.
So it has nothing to do with these worlds, it's just very different. It's just a travel writer in her 40s trying to figure out her life.
But I have to wrap us up, y'all. We did that. I have to. It's crazy. Like, we don't want to go, but we got to go.
Oh, thank
I would say, everyone grab your copy of your book if you have it.
you.
We're going to do a Well Read Sistas chant because you are officially
Okay.
in the sisterhood.
Oh, thank you so much. Let me
I'll
go
shake
grab a
yours.
copy of my book.
Oh,
Can
yeah,
I
go grab,
my
go
book?
grab,
Okay,
yeah.
one sec.
Ladies, she's great. We're going to have to bring her.
Yes.
We have to read other stuff.
This was so good.
Yes.
She's the best so far.
Yeah,
I think
right.
so,
Get
too.
into it. She loves what she's doing.
There were so many questions that I had that she actually answered. And so
Right.
even down to like the characters being unlikable, intentional, like everything that we had a debate on in book club, she
Yeah.
answered.
So now you're officially in the sisterhood. Now, truthfully, you've been down. Once we read your stuff, you're in. Frankly, once you're born a Black woman, you're in. We want to thank you for being here. We are going to be inviting you back, I don't know how many times, because we have so many things to chat about. And you got new jams. The way this works is, I say 1, 2, 3, and we say, "Well read, sisters." We keep it forever. And this is added to our amazingness. After this, after we do the chant, I'm going to let you all go. So I just want to thank you all for being here. And with that, we're going to shake. Ready? On 3. 1, 2, 3. Well read, sisters. Oh, that was good. Yes, we did that. Yes. We have another book on our shelves. This is a self-love activity. This is important. This is for you, nobody else. And with that, please take all the joy you've gotten from this meeting and share it with another person, especially a Black woman. Yes.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much.
Thank you.
Bye. Happy New
Thank
Year.
Happy New Year. Yes.
You were great.
Yes.
Thank you.
Bye, ladies.
Cut from a sturdier cloth. I think the fabric was dungaree.